Since AI has been more accessible, the volume of workload has been increased and time of deadlines reduced, all while we have one graphic designer less in the team. How can I explain to my boss that just because AI can create images, it still needs input and visual direction, and design doesn't take just seconds? He has a design agency, but doesn't come from a design background.
Fun. I mean, this is kind of like the age-old problem of, just hit the design button. Just the design button has become far more closer to clients and people's hands. It's really tricky because I think it's about educating people about what goes into the thinking and the thought process, and less so the output, because these tools they help us accelerate some of the outputs, but it doesn't change the thinking time. And to get to a good solution takes time, because that's a deeply human process. And shit at the speed of light is still going to be shit at the other end. So it doesn't matter for me, whether you're doing something in Photoshop or you're using AI. Yes, you can sort of get maybe scale of outputs and the ability to roll certain things out. There's definitely been an acceleration from my perspective of what we're able to do now, but the education piece becomes even more important than it was, because everyone can chuck something into Gemini and whip something up. But I find also it's like you can get 90% of the way there, but actually that last 10%, that is diabolically sometimes extremely time consuming. So maybe push it back to them of like, okay, well, if it's so easy, get it to that place where you're happy with it. I'm very deep in the tools, and so I make it my business to understand how to do all of these things. But I know everyone's not like that, and so I spend a lot of time educating other people.
I think that education part, we've always had that, like you said, the design button, but now there's an extra level of education, isn't there, around what AI is actually capable of.
Yeah, people think it's a turbo design button there.
Exactly. And I actually think design is probably the element which is probably the furthest behind in terms of all of the developments that are being made. Like, if you don't really care that much about output and you are very reliant on things like social media and things are created in minutes and then gone in hours, then sure, you can probably churn a bunch of stuff out, right? But I took a look at Claude Design over the weekend, and I tried to take all of Nevernock Creative's assets, bring it into Claude Design, see what it could do, and it was pretty limited. It really struggled to be able to put things where you would have put them. You're not going to get pixel perfect, but also then you can't take it back necessarily out into something else, and you've got to play around with pixels in a browser. Obviously, you can start to those things will improve, and they'll start to connect up to design tools better. But it's still a far way off.
It definitely is, and I think 12 months ago we're like, oh god, this is going to transform X, Y, and Z. It hasn't. And I actually think designers are more secure than many other roles. Whereas maybe 12 months ago we're like, yeah, will some of these things be automated? I don't think so, because again, taste. I need exquisite architects of taste, and if they're using these tools to accelerate some of those outputs, then that's great. But yeah, it's not really changing the dial that much.
Yeah, we were talking just beforehand around a talk that I saw recently, and how someone compared where AI is at the moment to internet in 1997. And if you look back at what internet was like in 1997, and what we did and how amazing it was, and suddenly whole businesses were going to be made redundant, or even the introduction of the internet, and so therefore whole elements of media are dead. No, well, they've just changed. We still consume things, we still look at things, and I think it's quite comforting actually to hear that take sometimes. And I think the conversation around AI is maturing a lot more. We're moving away from some of the hyperbole of, oh, it's going to take all your jobs, agencies aren't needed anymore, all this kind of stuff, to realize that that's a fair way off. But I do think your advice around education and that being an option for having a chat with your boss. Just go, hey, let me just show you how it works. And let me just show you what that looks like when I press that button. And then you tell me whether you think that's good enough or not. Of course, there is always the challenge of they go, yeah, that is good enough. And you go, oh no, you were never going to
Yes.
you were never going to get that ship sailing in the right direction anyway.
That's when the taste issue is in reverse is a problem, because not everyone has good taste that are looking at these pieces of work.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah.